Leah Marie Mazur is a certified divorce recovery coach and the founder of Mindfully Ready. She specializes in helping her clients through the mental and emotional side of divorce so they can heal, rebuild their self-esteem, and co-parent with confidence. Leah has been a guest on the Find Me the Money podcast before, so we are so happy to have her here back with us. Hello, Leah.
Hey, Tracy. Thanks for having me back again.
Thank you. I want to talk first about the work that you're doing with women in divorce because I think that it's so important. Can you tell us a little bit about your work as a divorce recovery coach, the resources you've been creating, and the community that you lead?
Yes, I love helping, especially women, because they're so near and dear to me. Obviously, love helping them through the mental and emotional side of things. There's a lot of resources available for people who are going through the process itself, but then once that ink dries on that paperwork, you're kind of left with this situation like, okay, now what now? Who am I? What do I want in this next chapter of my life? How can I feel better about who I am and where I am in my life? And so that's where I love to focus and give people the tools and the resources that they need so that they don't stay stuck and they can move forward faster.
I think that that is such a wonderful resource, a wonderful mission, because you're right. Divorce is so traumatizing to so many people. It is, studies have shown it's one of the most stressful life events that you can go through. It often comes in second to death of a very close
Yes.
loved one. And I know that you are speaking from experience when you talk about how difficult divorce is, aren't you? So I would love for you to share a little bit about your divorce story.
Yes, I've actually been divorced twice myself. When I was about 16 years old, I actually lost my mom to an asthma attack. It was very sudden, very traumatic. And then only 5 years later, I lost my dad to pancreatic cancer. So I didn't realize this at the time, but that left me with really deep seated abandonment issues, fear of being alone, low self esteem. And so I spent a lot of years hopping from one relationship to the next, essentially as my coping mechanism. I didn't know how to be by myself. And so I continued to choose the wrong relationships for the wrong reasons over and over again. Until one day I found myself during my second divorce. And that was when I kind of said, okay, Leah, we can't keep doing this. I don't want to keep finding myself in this situation. I've got to figure out what is going on so that I can make better decisions. And that's when I really dove into my own healing journey. I did all the things that, therapy, meditation, journaling, anything to help me cultivate self-awareness so that I could understand my patterns and my choices, things to help me rebuild my inner dialogue because my inner critic was awful and making me feel terrible about myself. And so then I was just able to take all of the tools and all of the resources that helped me the most on my journey. And now I share it with other women who are going through the same thing.
Well, I know a lot of people will say, yes, divorce is difficult, but you have this new life to look forward to, and you'll be fine. It'll get better. Just work through it. And I think that what I really appreciate about what you're doing is giving people frameworks and strategies, because just saying work through it and it'll eventually get better, that I don't think is enough.
No. Yeah. They're like, well, how? Like, what do you mean? Give me specifics. And so that's what I love to do is give specific tools and methods that are proven and they work really well so that they can empower themselves. My job isn't to keep them needing me. My job is to give them as much information and resources as I can so that they can move forward and feel more empowered on their own.
Good. Right. Okay, let's talk about money. We are talking today about facing your financial fears. And in divorce, there are lots of them, especially for women. As you know, women are more often the stay-at-home parent. And even when they do have careers, they are much more likely to forego promotions or give up working longer hours to do more of the kid-related stuff. So they're often not advancing their careers in the way their husbands are. And that's creating some financial issues at the time of divorce, isn't it?
Yes, I do see that a lot, unfortunately.
The stay-at-home mom thing is what I see most often, right? They've taken a break from that career, and everyone agreed that dad would financially provide for the family while mom held it down at home. And then divorce
Yeah.
comes and he says, it's my paycheck. It's my house. I paid
Yeah,
for it and all those kinds of things. And so there's a lot of fears that go along with that, aren't there?
totally. Yes. Because that is very scary. I mean, that's a very a jolting thing to experience. And so I think it's really important, first and foremost, to talk to the right people so that you can gain more clarity on what you're legally entitled to. Because even if your ex is telling you they're not going to give you anything, that's not necessarily true. And in order for you to move forward and figure out what you need to supplement, you've got to kind of figure out first what is going to be coming your way, and then help that's going to help you move forward and make some choices.
And you are speaking my language here because with the Divorce Money Guide, we are all about you are legally entitled to your share of the assets. You might be entitled to spousal support and child support as well. And the laws are set up to help you get what's fair in your situation.
Yes.
But you need to be aware, right? You need to know your rights before you can do that.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So there are fears about staying afloat on a single income after the divorce or to provide your kids the things they need. And that's a very real fear because your income and standard of living, if you're a woman, almost always goes down after a divorce. What strategies do you have for getting past this fear?
I think first and foremost, your fear is valid. So sit with it, process it, feel it, try to get to the core of what those fears really are. But then you have to get into resourceful mode, right? You have to get creative. You have to make sure that you are not filling your brain up with limiting beliefs. Because if you tell yourself, there's no way I can do it, there's no way that I'm going to make it, I can't afford to do this on my own, you're right. You're really closing yourself off to even the possibility of finding opportunities or connecting with the right people or making things work. So make sure that you're even open to the possibility that, yes, you can do this and it may even work out better than you can imagine. But get resourceful, whether that is connecting with people that you know on Facebook and seeing if there's opportunities there. Figure out what kinds of things that you can do from home. How can you make money at home? What kind of like side hustles can you get into? I think it's just important to again gain clarity on how much specifically you're going to need to survive and that's like budgeting and things like that. But then also, okay, what are my options and what are the possibilities that I can start going after?
I think focusing on the negative of, I can't do this, I'll never make it on my own, is really detrimental, particularly in situations where you might have been married to someone who was sending you those kinds of messages outright and telling you those things. You're going to be a loser after
Totally.
this divorce and those kinds of things. Um, what about finding a job after you've been a stay at home mom? A lot of the women that I work with are in this situation where they've given up their jobs. I will tell you that I know there are good employers all over the place who are looking for reliable employees. And to the woman out there who's listening, you might not find the best job right away. You might not find the highest pay right away, but I will tell you there's a job out there for you and it doesn't have to be permanent. So how do
Yes.
you suggest though dealing with the emotional aspect of this issue because it's tough?
Yeah. It is tough. And especially if you've been a stay at home mom for a long time or you really don't have a lot on your resume, you have to check your ego at the door. You may have to do certain things and have certain jobs that aren't your dream job and you're not passionate about necessarily, but it's going to get money in the door and it's going to build your bank account and it's going to help you. That's step 1. For me, after my first divorce, I was a stay-at-home mom, and so I started waiting tables when I was still living with my ex before we were actually physically separated. I would stay home with my daughter during the day when he would go to work. When he would come home, I would go wait tables at night to start saving up money so that I could move out. After my second divorce, at the time I was working, I think full time. But in order for me to afford to move out and support my daughter and myself, I had to leave that job and find another one. I hated the job that I had to leave for and to get the new job, but it paid more. And so I knew that that's just what I had to do. And I kept telling myself, it's just temporary. It's just something that's going to get me in the financial position I need to be in so that I can do what I need to do. And then from there, Who knows? Maybe it'll be a year, maybe it'll be 3 years, but it's just a matter of doing what needs to be done to get you out of a bad situation and into a better one.
I love that mindset. I had a friend who was going through divorce who said something that I thought was really powerful. And it's so simple. She said, I can do anything for a year. I can do anything
Yeah.
for a year. She had to take on a second job. It was difficult with schedules and she was tired, but she said she made a plan for herself that here's what's going to happen over that year with that extra money for that second job. And if I can do this for a year, then I can quit that second job and be on to the next part of my plan. And
Yeah,
I
I
just
love
love that mindset of it's just a year. It's just a
Yes.
year.
Yes, it's just a stepping stone.
So, what about the woman who already has a job but needs some extra income? She doesn't know how to bring in more money. And everyone says, find a side hustle. And you mentioned side hustle before, but I'm going to
Mhm.
challenge you a little bit because sometimes that feels like it's easier said than done.
Yeah. So, first you have to get clear on what you need. So, what schedule do you have? Do you need to find something that's in the morning? Do you need to find something you're going to be doing at night or only on the weekends? For me, I ended up starting my own business as a side hustle. I knew that I not only wanted to make more income and supplement my full-time job, but I wanted to do something that I cared about, something that I was passionate about and that made a difference because the job I was in did not. And so that's when I decided to be a coach. And this was all during lockdown. We were in lockdown. I was homeschooling my daughter at the time. I was working full time from home. And then I decided to start a business. So I had my hands full, but it's absolutely possible and you can do it. So again, you have to get resourceful, whether that's connecting with people you already know or putting yourself out there and joining certain groups or certain Facebook groups to connect with people, having people help you with your resume if you need to do that, but figuring out what kinds of things you're already good at. What kinds of things do you already like doing or just come naturally to you? And then figure out how to monetize that. Maybe you're somebody who loves going thrift store shopping. Can you flip some of those clothes on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or furniture? Do you like to refinish furniture that you could find that's used? Do you have a skill that you could teach someone who they would pay you to teach them? The possibilities are endless. You just have to figure out what would work for you and your schedule and how much income you need, and then figure out a way to make it happen. And it absolutely is possible. I see it all the time.
I think that when people are going through financial difficulties, that the go-to is look at your budget and figure out how you can cut expenses. And absolutely, as a financial person, I'm all in favor of that. If you're spending money unnecessarily, cut that spending out. But at some point, you get to a point where you can't cut anymore and you're down to the bare minimum. And that's where looking for extra sources of income is really important. You can make such greater gains on the income side than you can often on the expense side.
Yes, totally. And cutting the expenses too, that's certainly something that I had to do. And again, it really was just a short term thing just to get me to a better position. So maybe you do have to start saying no to going out to dinner with girlfriends or buying things that aren't essential or getting your nails done regularly and things like that. But that's okay. Just be patient. Again, these are all stepping stones just to help you get yourself into a better position, and you can pick those things right back up again when you have some extra money coming in.
I love that mindset. I think, again, going back to mindset is so, so important with this, right? Nothing that is happening right now has to be permanent other than the divorce and and
Yes.
and that's going to happen. But, your level of income, your expenses, where you live, what your schedule is,
Yes.
none of that is permanent. It's all
No.
right now. And so planning and knowing that it's going to improve is super important.
Yes. Yes. Having the right mindset is everything. Because if you decide that things will work out and that you will be connected with the right people and you will be shown the right opportunities, then you will. I mean, it really is a matter of what you're choosing to believe. So be careful of what you're telling yourself.
Okay, one more big fear that many women have during divorce or shortly after divorce, and it's saying no to their kids for purchases that aren't a necessity. And I think that this one gets really tough because I think a lot of women who are listening have the experience of Disney dad in their lives, right? Where Disney dad is complaining about child support or maybe not paying his half of medical bills or school fees, but then he's buying the kids expensive toys or taking them on vacation, and he's the superhero who comes running in with the fun stuff. And when mom has to say no because money is tight, there is a whole lot of guilt there.
Yeah,
What do you
there is.
suggest?
There is some guilt. I think it's important to, again, with the mindset. So, if we're talking about Disney dad, you have two choices. You can either feel guilty that you can't afford these things, or feel angry or resentful that he's buying those kinds of things for your kids, but that's not going to make you feel very good. So, option number two is having the perspective of, I'm grateful that my child gets to experience those things or gets to have those things, because I know that there are millions of kids that will never be able to have things like that. So even though I'm not the one that's supplying it, I can just be grateful that my kids get to experience it regardless of where it's coming from. And I think that when we don't have a lot of money and we do have to say no, that's a great opportunity to have a financial conversation with your kids. Obviously, it depends on how old your kids are and how much in depth I think you want to get with it with them. But talk about budgeting, talk about money, talk about how it works. How do we respect money? How do we earn money? We want to save money, we want to invest money. Have that conversation to empower them as well, so that it's not just a matter of, oh, I'm not going to buy this for you because we're broke, right? Well, what does that mean? Show them, write it down and show, here's the things we're responsible for, and here's how bills work, and here's the income that's coming in. And it could be a life lesson.
Right. I think that many times that there is some embarrassment surrounding differentials in financial situations. And I'm a big believer that there should be no shame in saying to your child at whatever age level appropriateness there is, dad makes a lot more money than I do. And that's why dad's able to take you to Disney. But we're planning a vacation for next summer, and I'm saving right now for it. And then you can teach those money lessons like you talked about. I think that a lot of women shy away from talking about the reality of the money differentials because they're embarrassed. And I just don't think that they should.
No, because it's nobody's fault. And who knows, when your kids get older and they find themselves in a position like that, if they end up getting divorced one day or they're in a financial hole, you want them to be able to come to you and go, hey, I know that you were in a similar position and I know that you got us out of it. What did you do? What kind of tools did you use? What do you recommend? Anything that you're going through, your kids are watching, your kids are learning. So it's important to, again, maintain as best you can a positive mindset and just be practical about things. I mean, you're right, Tracy, just having the conversation of, you know what, he makes more money than me. Not everyone makes the same amount of money, and certain people can afford certain things and certain people can't, and that's okay.
Well, and as your kids get older, they understand. I know that a lot of women are worried, well, dad's buying their affections right now and the kid wants to be at his house more often. And those things feel really hurtful. But as your kids grow, they start to understand. They understand that you were there for them maybe emotionally in a way that dad wasn't, and dad substituted buying toys for them or things like that. Kids
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. And also, that's just an opportunity to nurture the relationship you have with your kids. At the end of the day, your kids aren't going to remember the stuff that we're given. It's not the stuff you buy, it's the experiences you have. So it's the conversations you have. It's the places that you can go, even if it's just for a walk around the local park. Those things a lot of time end up being more memorable than any toy or anything that they can, that they were given bought from a store.
So overall, understanding that so many of these things that you're going through in terms of money and your fears are temporary stepping stones. Some
Yeah,
sacrifices along the way are probably going to be necessary, but they'll help you get to where you need to be.
absolutely. Just remind yourself that everything's temporary.
Okay, Leah, you have a special resource for people that you're offering called Divorce AF Empowerment Guide. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's a digital guide that I created, and there's actionable steps and real tools to help you gain clarity on what you want next, build your self esteem, and find acceptance if you feel like you're kind of stuck and having trouble moving forward.
We're going to link that in the show notes so everyone can get that free resource. It's at leahmariecoaching.com/guide if you're not seeing the show notes. And you also have your online community called The Next Chapter. And I know it's been so helpful to hundreds of women who are going through divorce and getting ready for what's next in their lives. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's been amazing. So it's run by myself and a good friend of mine, Samantha Boss, who is also a divorce coach, and she specializes in high conflict divorce as well. And so every Monday, we host a live workshop inside the next chapter on a variety of topics like co-parenting, boundary setting, rebuilding your self-esteem, all kinds of things. And then you get a live Q&A as well. So that membership gives you access to 2 coaches and a ton of tools and resources to help you in this next chapter.
I love it. We will link that as well in the show notes. And if you're listening, it's found at thenextchaptercoaches.com. So again, the link is thenextchaptercoaches.com. And there is a page there for membership that you can go to check that out. Leah Marie, thank you so much for being here today. I love talking about strategies for dealing with those money fears.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be able to hang out with you again.